Hello friends, this is Carrie Freeman, My Left Ear. I'm the writer, producer, director of My Left Ear. This is video 142 and it is March 16th, 2023, of course. We're a left-leaning political and psychic commentary site, and I do runes and ask critical questions, which I've done today. So that's the introduction right this minute. What do I do when I'm not doing this YouTube? Well, I have a Patreon channel that's very entertaining. Patreon.com/Carrie Freeman. I'm now doing some very upbeat work there called What is Good Evidence, based on a book that I have coming out that's illuminating, I want to say, original. And when I'm not here, what do? I do private sessions, I do psychic coaching, and I've been doing clinical hypnotherapy for over 20 years. So that's just a little bit about me. And I'm a writer and I do creative work and I support writers and creativity. And what I like to think of myself as doing is disseminating key news items and discussing that with you, and then giving you my feedback, my psychic commentary, and sometimes the runes. So I have a few runes today, and this is for entertainment purposes only. It would be great if you subscribed and liked. In fact, that would be good evidence. All right, so there's three things I'm covering today because it just seems like, well, I said this the other day when I did a video that just hang on because some wild stuff is coming. Now I'm gonna first talk about Georgia because it just hit the headlines yesterday that what's coming out is that one of the people who was on the grand jury in Georgia about Trump's obstruction and so many different things, they said this is going to be massive. So the word massive is kind of running around the internet right now. So what happened is we saw this young woman come out and speak who was on the grand jury, and she did nothing wrong and nothing illegal. But now there are 5 additional grand jury members who have met privately, they are unnamed, with 2 reporters in a conference room in the last few days. And these reporters are from the Atlanta Constitutional Journal to discuss privately and confidentially their work with the grand jury. So there's I took some notes from Lawrence O'Donnell, and he said, oh, you know what I forgot to do? I had this thing, I have to, so I can read better. Excuse me for doing this. I thought I did it, but then my computer did something funny and I had to reboot and I didn't get my changes done. So I apologize for this little tiny interruption. So I have to see if this is in order. So one of the jurors, as I said, that this is going to be massive. He or she, I don't know, said a lot's going to come out and it's going to be massive. So massive is massive. It means extra big, huge. And a reminder that this grand jury, this Georgia grand jury that Fani Willis collected, has recommended 12 people be indicted. We don't know who they are. We can kind of guess. So I'm going to give you some facts here. And Lawrence O'Donnell said last night, and I'm quoting him, he really is my favorite, "This is one of those times that we can be grateful for Donald Trump's impermeable ignorance and limitless, let me get that right, limitless stupidity." So because Trump called Georgia's Secretary of State Raffensperger in that famous recorded telephone call while he was almost trying to extort him into finding him 11,000 and change votes. There's something else that's come up. Georgia's late House Speaker, a Republican, David Ralston, turns out he has passed away. Mr. Ralston passed away last November. But before he did, Trump placed a call from the White House. So this is the limitless stupidity that Lawrence was talking about. It didn't even occur to him that it could get him in trouble or anything. It was just that hubris. He picked up the phone and called these legislators from Georgia. So in the second call, which we are just finding out about, he asked Mr. Ralston, Trump asked Mr. Ralston to convene a special session of the legislature in Georgia to overturn Biden's narrow victory. And in the middle of Trump's, coercion and talking, how much he talks, Ralston cut him off and said, I will do everything in my power that I think is appropriate, which is so clever. It was so clever. And he really left Trump no room other than to say, thank you. So it kind of ended there. But Ralston recorded it because in Georgia, it's legal to do that. So this legal second recording of coercion, obstruction, my words, are now part of the criminality in Georgia. So this is like new stuff. So of course, now that first young woman, Miss Coors, 30-year-old gal, who did come out and speak and did not do anything illegal, she followed her instructions, did indicate there were more recordings that nobody has heard except the grand jury. So here we go. This is one of them that we know about to date. So now there are two separate multi-count indictments on the table. They won't be merged into one indictment because there were two separate phone calls and incidences. And there could even be more than that, but this is what we know as of today. So this grand jury recommended two separate charges in addition to other counts. And it has to do with Secretary Raffensperger, the famous recording that you all know, and former House Speaker, Mr. Ralston. So lastly, it is reported that 5 jurors were very emotional in discussing this in the private conference room that they met in with the reporters from the Journal. And the jurors reported being very upset, very moved, very emotional about the targeted harm inflicted on poll workers such as Ruby Freeman, who shares my last name. We share the last name, and her daughter, Shay Moss. They received death threats, and they even cite Giuliani as part of those death threats. They were singled out, apparently. In addition, there was a gentleman named Eric Coomer, an executive at Dominion. Dominion is suing Fox right now, but he quit his job at Dominion due to threats and harassment. So he's no longer there. And then in addition, they were very moved and affected by the testimony of Trish Raffensperger, the wife of Secretary of State, who endured vitriol and threats and people coming onto their property. And this was all after they lost a son. So they were grieving when this was going on. One of these people that was part of the grand jury that met with the journalist this week said, I believe it is a woman, that she held her emotions intact when she was listening to all this testimony, but reported that when she went to her car after they were done listening, she just broke down and cried more than once from the horror of what she heard, the stress, the responsibilities. And these jurors said they were very upset by what these these people went through on the witness stand. So right now, it strongly appears that there will be two separate indictments of Trump at play, which helps explain the word massive. And I'll tell you what, we don't know what else is massive, but we will find out really soon. So remember, they recommended indictments for 12 others that were witnesses. I think we can guess who some of these people are, but I don't think I want to go there. It's almost like common sense, but do I dare say Giuliani, Mike Flynn, and others? And there were, I don't know if he was a hostile witness, but he was not terribly cooperating, and that was Mark Meadows. All right, so now we're going on. Today's a little shorter. I just wanted to cover these three things. There's breaking news that Smartmatic Voting Systems has filed suit against Fox. So this is the second voting systems company who has filed suit, and we're just finding out about it. So I'm going to read this to you. A New York State appellate court ruled on Tuesday that a lawsuit against Fox News brought by voting systems company Smartmatic USA can proceed. It can go forward, rejecting calls from the cable network for the case to be dismissed. Now, of course, they'd want it dismissed, those Fox News people. And here's the kicker. Smartmatic is seeking even more money than Dominion. They're seeking $2.7 billion in damages. I'm going to repeat that. $2.7 billion in damages from Fox News, its hosts and guests who alleged or insinuated the company had engaged in election fraud in order to help President Joe Biden win the 2020 presidential election against Donald Trump. So, you know, my left ear, and by the way, I didn't mention it to any new people, I get information through my left ear when I'm listening well. And my left ear just quickly went, oh, Smartmatic's going to win. And I said, yeah, but you know what? I'm going to do the runes anyway. Sometimes I just listen, and sometimes I listen and I do the runes also. And this is just a reminder, this is coming on the heels of Dominion with all the evidence and texts of wrongdoing, of lying. So I asked the runes, will Smartmatic win? And after pulling 2 runes, I went, oh, this is a non-brainer. They're going to win. Now, what we don't know, because it's so early, is we don't know if they're going to go to actual trial. Like, we don't know yet whether Dominion's going to go to trial, or whether they will just settle, mediate and settle. In any respect, it's really bad for Fox because it's insult on top of injury for them. First, they have to fight Dominion, and now they're going to have to fight Smartmatic. They're really getting pummeled, and it's so exciting. Excuse my joy. All right, so speaking of joy, the first rune I pulled was the rune of joy. Now, you might think joy for Fox, but no. This is Joy for Smartmatic, not Fox. And it says, your term of travail has ended, Smartmatic. Now you can rejoice. That's all we need to know, okay? Then I got the rune of flow, reversed, which I got again in the next one. So no flow for Fox here. It's obstructed. Their flow or their ability to win or overcome, not going to happen. The runes say this is a counsel against overreach and excessive striving. And this rune is a warning against not to exceed your own strength or operate beyond the power you have funded to date. So I'll reframe that in saying, Fox, you went too far. You exceeded. You got hubris and you exceeded. You weren't even smart enough to hide those texts or not do texts. They didn't think they were going to be outed like that. So I'm really happy that they're getting pummeled. I'm sure you are too. And we'll know more coming up. And then my final check-in for today is, I called it DeSantis's outrageous GAFF about Ukraine. So DeSantis saying Ukraine support is not vital in the vital national interest sparked a lot of backlash from the GOP. And you know, they're not big on criticizing their own, but this got some attention. So I hate to mention him because I really think Lindsey Graham is going to be called out in the Georgia indictments. But I'm going to, every once in a while, he emerges and makes sense. I mean, once in a blue moon, Lindsey makes sense. So here's the quote. Lindsey, to say this doesn't matter, meaning the war in Ukraine, is to say that war crimes don't matter, he told CNN, adding that Russian President Vladimir Putin's aggression will go beyond Ukraine. Now, let me just stop here. That's the reason we're there. Not just to help Ukraine, but to safeguard all the surrounding countries. And that if you don't, this is what he said, if Lindsey said this, and if you don't get that, Ron DeSantis, he didn't say his name, but that's who he was referring to, you're not listening to what he's saying, okay? So on Monday, this past Monday, DeSantis, who has not yet formally announced a presidential bid, said in a statement he was responding to a questionnaire from Fox News' Tucker Carlson. So in DeSantis's words, he said, while the U.S. has many vital national interests, becoming further entangled in a territorial dispute between Ukraine and Russia is not one of them. I'm not kidding. I think a 10-year-old could come up with a more satisfactory answer. It shows his ignorance. And I have to tell you, all the news I watch, even if a GOP is criticizing Ron DeSantis, they always say, well, you know, he's very intelligent because, you know, he's got Yale and Harvard on his resume. But he's really not. This is what I want you to know. Nobody could possibly call this a territorial dispute. It was an invasion, and it's an attempted takeover, and it's torture of thousands of Ukrainians. It's so upsetting. So I threw the runes, and I asked, because Ron DeSantis is coming under a lot of criticism right now. He's going to have to squirm out of it some way. But I wondered, will this affect him running for president? So I asked, will Ron DeSantis, there's an airplane, thank you, Mr. Airplane. don't hit the building. Will Ron DeSantis actually run for president? So I got Harvest, which normally, you know, it's a good rune, and it speaks of things coming to fruition in a year, which would be 24. So my first question is answered. Yeah, he'll do it. He'll run, and it'll be in the midst of this stupid statement he just made, which he's going to try to correct and walk back, and all the attacks from Donald Trump, because my understanding is that Donald Trump is preparing huge all-out attacks on Ron DeSantis. Some people say Ron can't handle it, but I think he's got a lot of money behind him, and he's going to move forward anyway. But then the second rune I got was the rune of flow, reversed, which this is the second time I've gotten it today. And it says it won't be good for Ron DeSantis. I added Ron's name. This is a counsel, again, about overreach and excessive striving. Fox got this earlier. And it says, or trying to operate from beyond the powers you have funded to date. And I simply want to remind you that I've been saying all along that Ron DeSantis will fail on the world stage. Donnie Deutsch, famous marketer who's probably got $1 billion himself, called Ron DeSantis sour, humorless, dour, with no appeal. I mean, Donnie Deutsch is specialized for marketing and how things sell. So, and he's one of the most successful people on the planet. So it looks like Ron will run. I do not believe for a minute he will win. He's so completely unworthy. And in a way, he's worse than Donald Trump. Isn't that crazy? I think he's more sadistic, but Donald is losing his marbles. And it looks like he's sundowning. And so he's gotten very dark. You know, he's talked about executing people and so on and so forth. So more to come. So I'm going to go right into good evidence, because today, well, I actually did go longer than I thought, but still. Good evidence. There are two little pieces. One is a big piece. One of my special clients that's been with me for 2 years, or even over 2 years, had major surgery yesterday and came through it with flying colors, and looked at her wounds and was thrilled with the job that the doctors had done. There were 2 surgeons involved. So I was in touch with her relative, her mom, all day long yesterday, and it's just wonderful, heartwarming news, because this is phase 2 of a long treatment that she's going to go through. So that is good evidence. And then, like a little mini good evidence, is that when my sister-in-law was out visiting me, maybe, I don't know when it was, the weather was beautiful. It was in 22, maybe September, October, I can't remember. Anyway, she bought me these beautiful flowing palazzo pants. I put them on. They were just great. They're like navy and little powder blue, and I've got them on today. I lost them. I went to the farmer's market, and next to the farmer's market on Sunday, there is a cleaner's, and I thought the alterations lady would be there because the palazzo pants are long. And she wasn't there, so I evidently carried my bag around the farmer's market, and I bought my oranges and some of the things I bought. And then a couple of days later, I simply couldn't find them. It's like they were gone. It's like I left them when I sat down for coffee at the farmer's market. But there was a part of my brain, or even my left ear that was saying, they're not gone, but where are they? And I looked, and I thought I went through everything in my closet. No palazzo pants. So I went online and I found a pair that looked like them, but they weren't them, and I ordered the ones online. Well, guess what? I found them yesterday, which is really weird because the light is out in my closet. I have a walk-in closet, which is really wonderful. The light was out, so it's dark in there, and I have to open up like all my window coverings to try to see what's in the closet until I get it fixed, and it's getting fixed in a few days. But I'm like looking for a blue top, and all of a sudden there's the palazzo pants. I had put them in a part of my closet where they didn't belong. So I found them. It was exciting. All right. This is the quotes part of the show, but it's really a joke that someone told me, and it just made me laugh and laugh and laugh, because we do talk about narcissists quite a bit, and I'm always studying narcissists, and I watch the brilliant Dr. Ramani, who has made a specialty of this subject and did so before it became popular. She had no idea it was going to get so big in the news, narcissism, and she's an expert. But somebody told me a joke, and here's the joke. How does a narcissist change a light bulb? Now, you've heard that question before because there's many jokes. Here's the answer. The narcissist holds the bulb and the world revolves around them. Isn't that great? How does a narcissist change a light bulb? The narcissist holds the bulb and the world revolves around them. Love that quote. Made me laugh. I don't know if you're giggling, but I just giggled and giggled and giggled. And that's probably the best, how does so-and-so change a light bulb? I think that's the best one that's ever been written. Now, in terms of my Patreon, which I'm covering what is good evidence, combining some chapters that I've introduced some new ideas and words and concepts, is now up. I started it, and I'm going to do another one tomorrow. So look for the Patreon tomorrow. What is good evidence? It's upbeat, it's fun, and should you listen and watch, it'll enhance your life. Okay? All right, here we go. Make peace, make good memories, take good care of yourself, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.